We had Elizabeth Warren on the podcast once, and she was the most technologically adroit person we'd ever done it with. And it was intimidating. She was like, "Do you have blah, blah, blah app?" And I was like, "Nope."
If you told that woman that she would need to juggle by tomorrow, she'd walk in with bowling pins and start tossing them in the air. I mean, she really would.
Yeah, she was incredible. And by the way, like Busy was stuck on another like live hit, like for a TV interview or something. And Elizabeth Warren was like, "No, it's okay. I understand." She was like, "Here, let me give you a tour of my house." So she just walked her laptop around, showing me around her house. And I got to see her dog. Okay, everybody, friends, hi, it's me, Caissie. This is Busy Phillips is doing her best, and we're kind of on a summer hiatus right now, but also, like, what does that even mean, right? We can come back, we can record episodes. So I wanted to come back and record an August episode, because it's such an exciting time. And I have some exciting friends who I'm always eager to hear from. And I was like, you know what? I have one friend that I would really love to talk to right now about everything that's going on, and that is my friend, Charlotte Clymer. Many of you may know Charlotte from, if you're on any social media platform, if you have any interest in politics at all, you may know Charlotte. I've known her for a really long time, and I've loved and liked her for a really long time, so I'm so excited. Thanks for making time to talk to me today, Charlotte.
Oh my God, lady, it is so much fun to be talking with you. I mean, we've been friends for quite a while. I think, 8 years, 9 years, something like that.
A really long time.
A really long time. And it's just a treat to be able to chat with you about stuff.
Well, it makes me so happy that you were able to make time today, because it's like, I know it's become such a trope, but what a few years the last couple weeks have been.
Oh, my goodness. I tell you what, night and day. I think this time last month, so today is August 5th, and on July 5th, it was the morning after a July 4th party in DC that I attended at a friend's rooftop.
Yeah.
There's about 40 of us. And it was mostly folks in politics, including, I think, like a fourth of the people there were reporters.
Yeah.
And I had so many demoralizing conversations that night on the rooftop. From people who just were so down on, the Democratic Party's chances. So the next morning, I was not in a good mood. I'll tell you that much right now. I was very frustrated with the folks around me. And here we are a month later, and it's a sea change. It is a complete seismic shift.
It's really been interesting from the perspective of somebody who likes to watch people and likes to sort of analyze the behaviors of people that they might not even be aware of themselves. It's been a really interesting time. And obviously, I'm enthusiastic and I'm all in. As I said to our friend Dr. Annie Andrews recently on a little emergency podcast that we did before one of the big calls for Kamala, I gave myself a day to like feel my feelings about the way everything was changing, because I think, it's healthy and it's important to acknowledge your feelings while also not letting your feelings drag you down all the time, which is something that I think sometimes I have a tendency to do. So I feel like if I'm doing it, other people are probably doing it too. So I gave myself 24 hours to feel my feelings, but then also just became excited within the span of 24 hours because I love Kamala Harris, and she's who I was initially campaigning for. She was my pick in 2020, and I understood like rationally why things shook out the way that they did, but I was like, I can't really not get excited because this is who I have been excited for in the past. So I'm pleased with how things are going.
I should have thrown in with you in 2020. My goodness. I mean, what a remarkable journey that she's had, the vice president.
I think what's remarkable about it is us. You know what I mean? Not us, but like people. I think the voting public we're finally starting to catch on to like what we have to do and our part in this. And that's what it feels like to me. Like she is remarkable, but I think that we've had a number of remarkable people step up to the plate and try to get us to help ourselves and to lead. And so I think that whatever it was about this moment in time, whatever it is about her, I think it like flipped a switch in all of us who were like, oh, this is on us. Like it's not on her to convince us that, you know, she deserves our support or whatever. It's on us to support her and get her to the finish line. I don't know. That's just how I've been feeling. How have you been feeling about it?
I would only add to that she's already done that work, right?
Yeah.
Like she's already spent the past 4 years as vice president doing, her and her team have done remarkable outreach, listened to concerns over policy or what have you, really done a lot to build bridges within the party and within the progressive movement overall. So, the vice president has already done the work that needs to be done. And I think that was on full display in the, 32 hours, the 32 hours after the president formally stepped aside in that letter he released. The party just coalesced immediately around the vice president. That doesn't happen if you aren't doing the outreach, if you aren't having tough conversations,
right?
If you aren't doing the work that a leader needs to do in order to take the party into the next chapter. So I think you're absolutely right. It's on us now to really build upon the example that she has set and do that kind of outreach and build those bridges to people across the country and get them excited and in this movement.
Yeah, and she's doing it in just such a way, and her team, because that's another thing that, like, this is, I fancy myself some type of message crafter, even though I'm not at all. I mean,
you are literally a message crafter. You are literally
I've dabbled.
What are you talking about? You're a writer. Come on.
I've dabbled, but I do feel like people have been, I've seen, and we're all too much online. Like that's the truth of it. That's another thing I've realized is like I really need to cut back for my own health and my own sanity. But when I've seen people sort of say, yeah, but, and I'm just like, listen, it's a team. This is what I want you to understand, that I feel like is such a great way to think about it. If you're anxious at all, it's a team. We just got a new team captain. It doesn't mean you change teams because there's a new captain. And in Joe Biden, we still have an amazing coach, an elder statesman who's finishing out the season, and he's coming in strong, and so it's just a team. And that's what I have faith in, is the team that she's assembled and the team that she will assemble. So like by now we're talking on Monday before lunch. By the time you're all hearing this at home, we'll probably know who Vice President Harris's vice presidential running mate is. And, and I have really just like given it up to God. I've kind of thrown up my hands. Like I'm rooting for a different person every day, by the way, and in like a fun and joyful way. But also at the end of the day, I'm like, whoever she picks, I think will be great.
I tell you what, I've been a political nerd my entire life.
I know it.
Ever since I was a little kid, I've just been obsessed with politics.
Yeah.
I was definitely that dork when I was a kid. And I have closely watched every Democratic Veep stakes since Vice President Gore's Veep stakes in 2000.
Yeah.
And this is the first time for Democratic Veep stakes that I have liked everyone being considered.
Yeah. they've been so smart in allowing us to get to know all of these people. So we even, like in the past, I've never felt like I've really even known anyone to even have an opinion other than just like I saw this person's picture or like heard one little soundbite. So I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity to have them acting as surrogates for the campaign out there and feel like I'm really getting to know them.
Oh my gosh, and they're all so good. Like
Yeah.
these are all capable communicators. All of them have impressive resumes, and it's really quite heartening to see this, short list of sorts that the vice president has curated, and that everyone she's considering or strongly considering would be ready on day one as
Yeah.
vice president, and that is an enormous comfort.
Yeah, and I also feel like, to the idea of a team, all of these people, no matter who she picks finally as her VP running mate, they're all going to still be part of the team and part of this movement. And so I feel great about that. And I feel like they all understand that it's a team effort, and I feel like they're supporting each other in a weird way. Is that just vibes? Am I just imagining things? I don't know, but that's how I
You
feel.
are not. You no. I think that is really well said. It is quite collaborative. I do think that, as with everything in the Democratic Party, our biggest strength is that we are incredibly diverse and that we pull from so many different constituencies. And our biggest weakness is that we are incredibly diverse and that we pull from so many different constituencies.
Right.
So with every possible running mate or candidate for the ticket, you're going to have people who are opposed to them. So, for example, Senator Mark Kelly didn't support a major labor rights piece of legislation,
Right.
Which is complicated in itself, and we can unpack that in terms of policy. It's not like a deal breaker at all. But some in the labor movement were like, well, we're not so sure about this. So he had to backtrack and be like, I do support this, et cetera, et cetera. And then, Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania, he's had a few policy issues like school vouchers that some folks in the party have not been so hot about.
Right.
So, every candidate has their advantages and some things that don't appeal to certain parts of the party. And that's totally fine. And what I've loved seeing, as you just pointed out, is that all these candidates are really running a clean race for the ticket.
Yeah.
They are hyping up the party, hyping up Vice President Harris, and focusing on who should be the main target for anyone, which is the corruption and narcissism and incredible damage of Donald Trump.
Yes. Yes. That's another thing that I think we have gotten so much better at. And I'm so happy to hear you say that and to talk about it in that way, because I think in the past and even in this election cycle, I've heard people say like, oh no, even before Joe Biden stepped out of the race, oh no, we're fucked, and second guessing like what we should have done, and what we could have done better. And I'm just like, no, not this time. All we're going to talk about is what they should have done and what they could have done better. And the answer is everything. Like, I couldn't even name something that they ever did that made sense, that I was kind of okay with. So we're not talking about second guessing ourselves, and that we're, for the most part, all in agreement and all on the right side of history over here, and getting together, forming a coalition to do what has to be done. So I'm so glad that you are bringing it back to that, because that really is the truth. Any of these people would be head and shoulders, standing on someone else's head and shoulders above JD Vance. And, that's what we have to look forward to.
I'm here to talk to you about sheets.
Let's talk about sheets, baby.
I love my Boll and Branch sheets so much. I ordered more so I can just always have them on my bed.
Yeah.
Boll and Branch are the greatest sheets I've ever slept on.
Perfect for sleepers who run hot like me. You can choose from 100% organic cotton percale made with a naturally cooling weave, or you can choose linen, which is made from European flax to be light, airy, and softer than soft.
They look perfect and crisp, but very breathable. And every time I wash them, they get softer. And they have a 30-night worry-free guarantee. You can sleep in the sheets for an entire month.
A whole month.
A whole month. And if you're like, nah, I don't know what Busy's talking about, you can just send them right back. Boll & Branch offers that 30-night worry-free guarantee with free shipping and returns on all U.S. orders.
But you're not going to return them because you're going to love them. They fit the deepest mattresses and they're labeled with top and bottom tags if you need a little help making the bed, which I happen to, and millions of sleepers love them.
Guys, sleep better with the softest, most breathable bedding from Boll & Branch. Get 15% off your order when you use promo code BUSY at bollandbranch.com. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLANDBRANCH.com. Promo code BUSY.
Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Whether you're going to the beach or you're traveling,
Whether you're having a staycation or whether you have to work, you're definitely bringing your microbiome with you. This is hot microbiome summer.
that's true. The 38 trillion bacteria that live in and on you are essential to whole body health. Well, Seeds DSO1 Daily Symbiotic benefits your gut, your skin, and your heart health.
Since I've started taking it, I've noticed my skin is calmer, my digestion is more regular, and my heart's still working. So, that's good news. And Seeds capsule and capsule design makes sure that all 24 strains of bacteria survive the journey to you and then also through you without synthetic or chemical coatings, because I don't want no synthetic or chemical coatings.
There's no synthetic coatings and no refrigeration. And not only has every ingredient been tested individually in scientific studies for their safety, dosage, and benefits, DSO1 has been evaluated in not one, but 2 clinical trials.
I love the science. And Seeds subscription service makes it easy to add DSO1 to your daily routine. Support your gut this summer with Seeds DSO1 Daily Symbiotic.
Go to seed.com/best and use code 25BEST to get 25% off your first month. That's 25% off your first month of Seeds DSO1 Daily Symbiotic at seed.com/best. Code 25BEST.
But I interrupted you when you were about to say who's your favorite. Who's your favorite?
Well, so my favorite all along has been Secretary Buttigieg. I think he is the best communicator in all of politics. I think that the way he is able to distill complicated political ideas into a manner that's accessible and exciting, and I think optimistic in so many ways. His, I would say, flexibility and virtuosity across policy areas. Obviously his main thing right now is transportation.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask him about trade or reproductive rights or really anything, he'd be able to answer it with incredible nuance and accessibility, which really makes me happy. And I'll also say that I think he represents something about the future that I really love.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's openly gay, and that's very, very important, especially to me as a queer person. But I also believe he represents a new type of politics, one that gets away from the horrific division that has so defined the past decade. Of course, this is all moot, I'll be honest with you, because about an hour ago, it was reported by the press pool that's traveling with the vice president that she is now down to 2 nominees.
I did
or 2
see that.
candidates.
I saw sources say.
Yeah, and I checked, and it looks pretty solid.
It looks pretty solid. Okay, and so
it looks pretty solid.
Those 2 choices are Josh Shapiro and Tim Walz. Which I have to say, I was like, I love Pete Buttigieg too. And then I was also loved Andy Bashir because he's like Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock in the best possible way.
What?
He's just like, you're not from here. I'm really from here. And like, I love listening to him. Just like I had visions of Jack McBrayer playing him on SNL. That being said, I also love Tim Waltz. And it's like, I think he's a really sharp guy. He's also from Minnesota, which is like my adopted home state, even though I have no business to lay claim to Minnesota. I just love Minnesota so much for various reasons.
Aww.
And I think he's like has a great sense of humor and he knows what's up. What a deep bench we have. We're so lucky. We're in such a lucky position, I think. And I know everybody's rooting for who they're rooting for in the Veep stakes, but I'm just so comforted by knowing that like even if it's not Pete, like he's gonna be such an important part of the administration that like I see an infinite future for Pete.
Oh yeah. I mean, let's say these reports are 100% true and Secretary Buttigieg isn't selected, there's no doubt in my mind he will be Secretary of Defense, maybe Secretary of State. I mean, he's going to be high up there in the cabinet. So
his husband
I'm really excited
will enjoy his husband in some type of gentleman role.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm a big fan of his husband.
Chasten's a dear friend of mine, and he is exactly what you'd expect. He is such a nice Midwestern man.
I love it.
Who is resolutely kind, always considerate. He's not like a DC person.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like you lived in DC long enough, you know exactly the type of person where you go to a cocktail party and they walk up to you and they're like, "Hey, so what do you do?"
Right.
And
it's show business, where that's.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I think DC and LA probably share that in common.
Yes.
Right? Like as soon as someone figures out what you can give them, they're going to process whether or not they should keep talking to you or move on.
Right.
Chasten is the exact opposite of that. The exact opposite. It just wouldn't occur to him to, basically suss out your resume to figure out whether or not it merits the time to get to know you.
Right.
And that's what I love about him.
Right. I really am a big fan of his. And I think he's done well. I think he and Douglas Emhoff, the second gentleman, have really done amazing things in this like position, which it's an interesting position that they're both in. Like we haven't had a husband fulfilling sort of like these public roles in that same way. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not articulating myself well.
Yeah.
But
no, I totally get it. Well, Mr. Emhoff is the groundbreaker there. I mean, we've had a number of women in presidential cabinets with husbands, but I do think you're right in the sense that it is far less expected historically for the men or for male partners of women cabinet secretaries to take on kind of that first spouse sort of role.
Yeah, and very often, like, in the case of Secretary Clinton, like we already knew Bill Clinton, and so he already was a figure.
Yeah.
And so these guys, I feel like, are just coming to us. We're sort of getting to know them just through their partners' roles and seeing, how supportive they can be of someone, and in the case of Vice President Harris, a woman who just has this huge job ahead of her, but also Secretary Buttigieg, just huge jobs to do, and watching a partner be supportive while also like showing how powerful and effective they can be in this role that, like, people are looking and people are watching and paying attention. And I just think it's been wonderful. And I really am a big fan of both of them. So I'm excited to see more from them too, to be honest.
That's so well said. And I got to tell you, it was about, I want to say it was 9 years ago when basically everyone and their mother and their cousin expected that Secretary Clinton was going to run for president. And I remember watching, maybe it was 60 Minutes or CBS Sunday Morning. It was something like that. They did a segment about the male partners of women governors. This is 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And they basically interviewed each of these four men, and did quick cuts of their day-to-day responsibilities and whatnot. And I got to tell you, it was a little demoralizing to watch.
Ugh.
And the reason being is that, well, there were two men on there who were great. They were wonderful. They really took it seriously. Like one of them took over that state's tradition of inviting women over for a tea party. And he was all about it. He like organized it and had a ball with it, like really made a great time out of it. The two other men, and I forget their names, and maybe I'll go back and look this up at some point. You could tell how do I put it? You could just tell how nonplussed they were.
Right.
And it was heartbreaking. I'm like, is this like, why, and I think back now and I'm like, why would their comms person suggest doing this segment? Because they look terrible.
Right.
Well,
it's really interesting. It's like, oh gosh, this is what we'll always call like mushroom talking, where it sounds like I'm on mushrooms when I'm trying to make an analogy. But I'm not.
Bring it. I love it.
I can tell you I'm not. I'm just, okay. So I always think it's interesting when people call for unity, but what they really mean is unify with what I think. I'm not going to give anything to you, and that is a very old and damaged and damaging way of thinking. And like, also, I can't believe it ever holds up still, because like all you really have to do is look at it critically for 2 seconds to be like, oh, you mean do what you say or else. You don't mean that we're both going to unify with each other. So a lot of times when we're both siding things or we're asking people to reach across the aisle, I'm like, let's take a close look at what they mean by unity and see like if it holds up to scrutiny at all. By the same token, this can happen anywhere. This can happen right in your own house, I'm talking about. But it also is what I hear you describing, Charlotte, which is that people always want to say that something's a partnership, but does that word hold up to scrutiny? When you really look at it, who is partnering with whomst is what I want to ask. And what you're describing is, when somebody isn't holding up their side of a partnership and they can't even hide it. They can't even disguise it for the cameras for 2 seconds. And it's a straight bummer. And it is something that's still happening in 2024. And I'm sure it happens plenty in Washington. I'm sure it happens, but I'm saying I bet it happens to a lot of us right at home, where somebody's like, we're a team, we're a partnership. And then you're like, if you really looked at it for 2 seconds, you might see that you are more than a partner and you're a great partner to this person, and you uphold their ambitions and goals and values. And then if you looked at how much your own ambitions and goals and values were being upheld and assisted, and how much somebody else that you thought you were in a partnership with, how much they were an accomplice to the things that you wanted to accomplish, it might be like a little shocking. Not to blow everyone's minds, but that's what it made me think of.
No, you're right.
Was that super mushroomy? Did that seem like I was high on drugs when I was saying?
No, I thought not at all. Not at all. I mean, if you were on drugs saying that, you were quite lucid, let me tell you. No, that was so well said. I mean, we don't talk enough about division of labor, really, in relationships. If a woman has a great job and is successful, and she's, particularly married to a male partner, they have kids, there's almost this sense of, oh, well, of course there's equitable division of labor. I mean, look, she has a great professional career. Of course there's division of labor. And I think that the vast majority of women would understand immediately that that's just not how it works.
Right.
The division of labor usually works out to where, the wife or the woman in that relationship is typically not only, doing her job well, but also having to basically take over the lion's share of, household responsibilities, family responsibilities, planning trips, doing things for the kids.
Remembering birthdays.
It becomes too, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
and by the way,
it's ridiculous.
Also, those are all like sort of nameable and quantifiable, if anyone cares to quantify them, values. But there's also just the things that are less nameable, which is like sometimes the other partner, even when they participate in doing some of the duties of the partnership, there's also just a lot of like emotional and intellectual labor that is sometimes put on the other partner to know like where the tools are or what color do we want or when do we want to do it. And I'm here to tell you that as an American woman who has a job and is in a partnership with not just my partner, but also like I consider my kids like live in the house and they're part of the family team, the family company, maybe you could say. My favorite phrase is, I don't know. And sometimes even when I do know, I just say I don't know because I'm like, I have faith in you guys. You can figure it out. Well, I don't know.
And
I don't know where that is, and I don't know what time we want to go, but I believe in you. I believe you can figure it out, or you can make that leap and make that choice or whatever. I think it's made me feel so much better. It's so freeing to just start saying I don't know all over the place.
And I think that's rather generous to put it that way. I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, I don't know, beats the shit out of me, Like, I don't know, go Google it, I guess, or something, get your shit together, kid. Like, make it happen.
Google it. I will say, I'm so lucky and I'm like teasing my guys, but they are more on it than anyone.
Well, y'all have done a great job of raising your sons, by the way. I mean, what two wonderful young men.
Let me guess. Your medicine cabinet is crammed with stuff that doesn't work. You still aren't sleeping, you still hurt, and you're stressed out.
That's how it was for me.
That's how it was for both of us.
So I cleared out my cabinet and reset my health with CBD from CB Distillery.
It's been a real change. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality, clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure, effective CBD solutions designed to help support your health. In 2 non-clinical surveys, 81% of customers experienced more calm, 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity, and an impressive 90% said they slept better with CBD. If you struggle with a health concern and haven't found relief, make the change like we did to cbdistillery.com.
And with over 2 million customers and a solid 100% money-back guarantee, CB Distillery is the source to trust.
We have a 20% discount to get you started. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code BUSY for 20% off.
That's cbdistillery.com, code BUSY, cbdistillery.com.
Wild grain, wild grain. We love you, wild grain. I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say wild grain has saved my summer. My kids have been very active, and that means they come home starving. So being able to get some fresh wild grain pasta out of the freezer and have it on the table in minutes is the big hit in my house.
If I want to be extra fancy, I bake up a loaf of something and serve it piping hot because everything wild grain makes bakes straight from the freezer in 25 minutes or less. No thawing required. Also, no talent really required. And I wind up looking like some kind of culinary genius.
And Emily Beebe's going to love this. Wild Grain just launched a brand new plant-based box featuring a wide selection of plant-based pastries, breads, and hand-cut pastas.
It's the best. And you know, Busy and I go on and on about Wild Grains croissants. If you haven't tried one yet, you are depriving yourself of joy, and we don't think you should do that anymore. So let's get you those croissants. For a limited time, you can get $30 off your first box plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/busy to start your subscription.
As you heard me, there are free croissants in every box. $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/busy. That's wildgrain.com/busy, or you can use promo code busy at the checkout.
We love you, Wild Grain. Well, you know, I was going to point this out, which, by the way, one of the reasons why I've known you for so long, and it's like, we met on social media and it was through like political activism spheres and circles. And sometimes you just notice somebody, and I noticed this young person that was enthusiastic. But also, I had young kids who were enthusiastic about politics. And so that's one of the reasons why I think I noticed you so early. And over the years, you have been so kind to my kids whenever they've had a question about something. Because as a parent, like, I see the value of, you know, when I try to tell my kids something, and they're older now, but when they were growing up, especially teenagers, when mom tells you something, like, it's not cool, and it's not like, everybody knows. Everybody who's ever been a kid knows, and certainly everybody who's had kids knows that sometimes you just can't tell your kids shit, you know? Like, they're just not going to hear it from you. And so I thought it was so valuable to have this other young, cool person to be able to point to and be like, look at what they're doing. Like, look how they're handling this. And you have been so wonderful. You've actually, like, gotten on the phone with my kids about things in the past, and, like, certainly exchanged DMs and texts with them about things that they were interested in. And so I just want to take a moment to say thank you, because I always think that's so cool when anyone's willing to, like, take an interest in a young person's interest and enthusiasm. And you've always been so kind to them. So I really appreciate it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, that means a lot to me, especially coming from you, someone I have admired for a long time. I mean, not only given, you know, just your artistry as a writer, as someone in the arts, but also your political sensibilities. Like, I really have admired you across the board for a long time. And I'll also say that it's very easy to give young people advice, like your kids, because they come prepared. They come ready to do the work. You know, I mean, there are a lot, well, not a lot. Well, maybe there are a lot. No, you know what? I'm gonna hold to that. There are a lot of young people out there who have really great souls, who want to do right by others and see the world become better. But sometimes they don't want to do the work, and that can be very frustrating. And what I love about, you know, your two young men specifically is that they are so ready to roll up their sleeves and do what needs to be done. They're not going to ask someone else to pick up their bag too, to walk along that path. And
Right.
I got to tell you, like, it makes it so much easier for the rest of us when, you know, parents like you really insist to their young folks, especially young men, that it's on them to do that initial work and then ask for help if needed, but they got to at least make the effort.
Right. Yeah. I'm proud of them. That seems to be something that they were just, like, born with, like, which is.
Oh, bullshit. Bullshit.
I mean, listen.
Yeah, your humility has no currency in this conversation. I just want to put that out there right now. No, they were not born with it.
Yeah, maybe they're just eager to get involved in a way that, like, I'm really proud of them. I'm proud of how they just sort of are like, well, you know, I think back to, like, the Women's March, and there was a time when there were so many protests happening and there was so much happening in the world, and I wanted to go to the Women's March, and, like, my husband was working, and that's, you know, that's important too. Like working is important too. And my older son was away at college and he was doing his own thing, I think. And my younger son was just like, I was getting ready to go like take the train into Manhattan to like participate in the Women's March. And he was just there at the door, like waiting. Like he had just picked up on my vibes and he was there with his backpack waiting to like go do the Women's March. And I was like, it was interesting. I got emotional about it because I was kind of like, it was very cool of you to like take the train for an hour to go take a really long walk so that I wouldn't be alone. And he was like, I mean, yes, I did do it so that you wouldn't have to go alone, but also it's just important to show up. It's important. Like he was like, you know, they're going to be taking pictures of this from the sky, and the amount of people they see down on the ground correlates to the message of like how powerful of a movement. And so all I can do in this moment is show up. But that's how he's always been. Like this is a kid that did not love birthday parties as a little one, but he would always go to every birthday party and with just this look on his face of like almost like pain and misery at like being at this birthday party where all these kids were running wild. And one day I said like, you know, bud, you don't have to go to every birthday party. It's really obvious that like birthday parties aren't your favorite thing in the world. You don't have to go. And he said, yeah, Mom, I do have to go because it's not about me. It's about like that kid. It's their birthday, you know? And so I'm really proud that they get the value of like showing up, you know, that it's like just sometimes putting your body in a space is like what you can do. And they'll do that. And then if you ask them to like move chairs or tack up a sign or carry something, they'll do that. But I love that their first instinct is like, well, let me show up to this first of all. I think that's such a good quality that I'm very proud of them for.
I think that you've taught them a lot more by example than you probably realize. I just want to put that out there.
That's so nice. Well, they think the world of you, and I'm so glad that they've had the opportunity to talk to you over the years and pepper you with questions and pick your brain, because getting your brain picked is exhausting. We've had this conversation on the podcast many times about how sometimes people want to just pick your brain so much that you don't have any brain left. And so I'm very grateful that whenever I've been like, hey, Charlotte, my kids have a question about like volunteering or like such and such a thing, and you've always been so great to just hop on with them and work it out. And I think it like made them feel cool and grown up too.
I mean,
now they are cool and grown up.
That's what you do. I mean, listen, I was once that young person who I remember I reached out to, I somehow found Hillary Clinton's campaign manager's email from 2008. And I sent her an email in like 2014 asking to get lunch. I'd never met her at all.
Yeah.
I'd never met her at any, parties or gatherings or what have you. She didn't know me from the next person. But, I remember that. I'm like, oh my God, the audacity I had at that age, sending this woman an email being like, hi, can I treat you to lunch and pick your brain? But, there were a lot of folks in politics and in DC who did make the time for me, who had nothing to gain from it. They had no idea that, I might be successful someday. I was just, any given young person interested in politics who was reaching out to get some guidance.
Yeah.
And they made the time for me. And I will never forget that. And that's what I think about every time a young person reaches out to me to ask for guidance. I have a very, very strong responsibility to pay that forward because a lot of folks did that for me. So.
I love that.
It's been important this week? Electrolytes. I'm happy to have warmer temperatures. I do not mind a sweat. And I have to say, thank God for Element. Guys, Element. We've talked about it a lot. It's an electrolyte drink mix. It's got everything you need, nothing you don't. It's a science-backed electrolyte ratio. There's no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers. There's no junk. It's formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs. It's perfectly suited for anyone, keto, low carb, paleo, whatever you got going on. I mean, guys, I don't know if you know, but electrolytes facilitate hundreds of functions in your body. The conduction of nerve impulses, hormonal regulation, nutrient absorption, fluid balance. Element can help prevent and eliminate headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, sleeplessness, and other common symptoms of electrolyte deficiency. And if you're feeling even just like sluggish and tired, especially when the summer is coming around, I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
You try it.
Pay
And tell me that I'm not right.
Yeah.
Oh, your muscles are cramping?
We've talked so much about things that we should have learned as we grew up, and hydration is just like a thing that we were never taught about.
Anyway, guys, I say, especially these warm summer months, also if you work out, also just running around.
Or you had a glass of wine last night.
A lot of the wine, yes. Right now, Element is offering our listeners a free sample pack with any drink mix purchase. It's 8 single serving packets free with any Element drink mix purchase. It's a great way to try all 8 flavors, or you can share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinklmnt.com/best. This deal, only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/best. That's drinkelement.com/best. It's 111.
And you can try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and they will give you your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. Really nothing to lose, everything to gain. We love you, Element. Thank you.
We love you, Element. Yeah. I don't know. Guys, we've talked about this before. You've heard my stories about how when my daughter was a toddler and I was like, vitamins are very important, blah, 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 blah. And then went to the dentist and they were like, she has 9 cavities.
Oh
and it's from the gummy vitamins that you're feeding her every day. And I felt like such an idiot. It was just like a momentary lapse in judgment for a lot of parents. And like, typical children's vitamins are essentially candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar. You think you're doing something good and you're not. You're just not. And that is why Hiya was created. The pediatrician approved superpowered chewable vitamin. Hiya doesn't have any sugar, 0 sugar, 0 gummy junk, but it tastes great. It's perfect for picky eaters. And Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide full body nourishment that our kids need, a yummy taste they love. It's formulated with the help of nutritional experts. Hiya is pressed with a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies. Then it's supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals, including vitamins D, B12, C, zinc, folate, and many, many others to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, concentration, teeth, bones, and more. And also the best part, your kids will eat it. Like, that's the best part. They taste good. They're for kids of all ages. Get in there. Take some Hiyas. They're also sent straight to your door. So again, one less thing to worry about. Comes with a little reusable bottle. Your kids can decorate them with stickers.
It's perfect.
Well, we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/busy. This deal is not available on their regular website. Go to hiyahealth.com/busy and get your kids the full body nourishment that they need to grow into healthy adults.
Yeah, let's talk about what's going on with you. I was so happy to see you pop up on the Women for Harris call.
Yes, that's true. I was delighted. I did not expect at all to be part of that, only because, it was such a close group.
Yeah.
And I think that Rhonda Fox, who runs Women for Harris, who's the campaign's director of that vertical, she has been extraordinary in outreach. And I think that she really wanted, not only a veteran to be on the call, but also, someone from the LGBTQ community, and of course, someone of a trans experience to be able to be on the call and talk about what the vice president has done. And so, when she asked, I was incredibly delighted. And I probably went over my remarks 20, 30 times just to make sure they were airtight. I didn't want to run over it because, friend, you know how this is. Like
Yeah.
you go to speaking events, whether they're in person or whatever. And I don't know, for folks listening to this, like here's what usually happens with these things. You get invited to speak somewhere. It might be a gala or something like that. And they'll reach out to you and they'll give you the run of show. And they'll say, okay, you got 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Try not to go over 3 minutes. And inevitably, most of the people will go over however much time they gave you every time. And it just happens and it gets delayed. And, it's just the nature of the game. I did not want to do that for this one. So I probably went over my remarks 20, 30 times just to make sure it came in under 3 minutes. And of course it did not. I think I went a little over 3 minutes anyway. But it was such a great experience to see all these women get together and talk about what it means for, not just any woman, but specifically this woman, Kamala Harris, to be in this position, to be the next president of the United States. It's incredible. I have to pinch myself every day over the past month when I think about this, because I don't think any of us thought we'd be to this point right now. It just happened it feels like it happened. It didn't happen overnight, but it feels like it happened overnight.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you pay attention to astrologers at all?
Here's the weird thing. I think astrology is fascinating.
Yeah.
In the writing. I am just so fascinated with the writing from especially professional astrologers.
Yeah.
The storytelling, the character building. It's very interesting to me in that way.
It is.
So I want to hear this. I really do. I'm actually very interested in this.
Well, here's the thing is like I do follow astrology, but from a personal, like a very personal place. And I've talked a lot about this on the podcast too. Like when we're talking about magic and witchcraft and witchery and manifesting and all of these things, like, I don't really believe that, like, Pinocchio turns from a puppet to a real boy. Like, I don't believe in that kind of transformation. But what I do believe in is that you can be intentional and you can envision the things that you wish to have happen, and you can sort of generate an energy that people start to feel. And so that's why I really believe in like positive talking and, and I don't want to be toxically positive because I believe that's a real thing too, where you just ignore problems and you talk over them and you make everybody feel worse because they know the truth and you're just blathering like some happy talk. I understand that can be true, but I really do believe that like for myself, if it's the same kind of as like making a to-do list. Like I'm much more likely to complete the tasks that I need to complete throughout a day if I make a list that I can then envision, like, here's when I'll do the laundry, here's when I'll bring the car in, here's when I'll take a walk, and cross them off my list. Like I think that kind of, that's the magic. And like, you are the magic is what I always believe. You can be your own magic. So I pay attention to astrology from like a personal place of like meditation, like meditate on these things. And today, according to the stars, it's a good day to think about things that you want to say goodbye to. And it's a good day to set new intentions for what you'd like to accomplish, like in the coming weeks. So that's how I've always looked at it, and that's how I've always taken it. I have never really paid attention to astrology, the larger umbrella that comments and like makes predictions on anything in the world, et cetera, et cetera. But my algorithm has been serving up so much this was always written in the stars for Vice President Harris, and we told you.
Really?
So many astrologers are like, we told you this was gonna happen, and they're really like so adamant about it. And I have to say, like, whatever you think about astrology, I am really enjoying that energy as well. Like, it's a good show. It's entertaining to me.
I think it's entertaining. Yeah, I do think it's genuinely entertaining. And I will say this, I don't believe in astrology, but here's what I love about astrology. Here's what I really appreciate about it.
Yeah.
I think, and just what you alluded to, I think it gives folks, if they're a little confused or they're a little aimless or they're not sure where they're going to go next, it offers them a vision of what might happen or what could happen if they were to just get motivated.
Exactly.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's almost like, maybe it's like, a very strong cup of coffee for the soul.
Yeah, I
Maybe
look
that's
at it
what it
always
is.
like a writing prompt. When you're a writer, very
There you
often
go.
someone will toss out a writing prompt where they're like, tell about a time where you felt more confused than you've ever felt. And then you're off to the races. You write something about that, but they got you started with it. That's what I think astrology and really anything spiritual, to be honest, really is like you write the story of your own life. All anyone's doing is getting you started with like a thought starter. Like, let's talk about a time where you felt in pain. Let's talk about a time where you felt powerful. Let's talk about things that we need to cut loose, and let's talk about things we need to chase after. So I that's what I always think. It's just like an opening line on like meditating on a more positive life. But I have really enjoyed the hardcore, most woo-woo astrologers on TikTok being like, we told you this was happening. It's very delightful.
Lest we forget, the Reagan White House was heavily influenced by astrology.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
and people always get this wrong, and I always hear people get this wrong. They think that Nancy Reagan sat down with an astrologer, and the astrologer told her what her and her husband might do, and that was it, right? Like for most of us, if we just read our astrology bit by email or by newspaper or whatever. No, that's not what happened. Here's what actually happened. Nancy Reagan had an astrologer on payroll. They would shape the president's schedule around the astrologer's guidance, his schedule, sometimes his policy discussions. People don't know that, but that was an actual thing that happened in the Reagan White House. So I just want to point that out.
Wow. Well, I mean, I want to, has anyone ever published like has anyone published a book on that? I want to go back and read what that astrologer said about that time. I want to see like what was accurate versus what was, hoo-ha.
So as far as books go, I've seen references to it in, I don't know, either era, like, how do I put this the right way? There are biographies of individuals, and then there are era history books.
Yeah.
Like era history books are like, here's what happened between 86 and 92 or something.
Right.
And sometimes I've seen references to it. I've read a couple articles that went in depth that, pointed out everything that she did, every way she influenced the Reagan White House. It was a woman, I forget her name. But I'm pretty sure there are books out there about the comprehensive influence she had on the administration.
Oh my gosh. I want a book. I want a podcast. I want a limited series.
You should do that. You should start it.
Just about the Reagan astrology and that
you
arc.
need to write the mini series.
Oh my
God. The Reagan
God.
astrologer. Oh, I got it. Oh, this is perfect. Written in the stars.
Yes. Oh my God. I would watch the hell out of that and listen to every moment.
You should write the hell out of that and get an Emmy. That's what you should do.
Oh my God. It's very fascinating to me. And then I'm like, is Chani Nicholas gonna be in politics in the future? Who knows? Who knows? But it's been very entertaining to me to watch all of these like deep astrology people like lose their minds. And I'm like, you know what? I don't begrudge anyone because like we have gone through years of like people literally believing anything based on nothing at all. So I'm like, at least these people are basing like something on star charts and you know, like their belief system is based on something that is in some way tangible. So I don't begrudge them feeling like,
no, me neither.
Like they can meditate on our future as individual Americans and our future as a country based on astrology. And it's been super entertaining for me, and I've been so into it. It's my WWE. It's my wrestling.
Oh, you know what's funny too is like for my generation or folks around my age, I feel like astrology is just seen as harmless fun.
Yeah.
You know, like we'll make jokes about each other, like, oh God, you're such a Libra.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, that's big Cancer energy or something like that.
Right.
You know, and honestly, I am absolutely convinced that 60 to 70% of the time we don't actually know what we're joking about.
Right.
It's just fun to say it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just it's harmless fun. I like it.
Oh my God. I've been really into it. I encourage you, if you're like walking on your little treadmill, walking pad or whatever, that's when I allow myself to watch either my Instagram For You page or like scroll through TikTok. Is like I have to be on the treadmill so that it's productive in one way for my health while I'm also like rotting my brains. And
I can't do one thing at once. I have to be listening to something or doing something while I'm working out. I can't just work out. That's not how I. That's not how I go about things.
It's impossible. So anyway, I allow myself to just immerse myself and let the astrology of TikTok wash over me while I'm walking on my little walking pad, getting my 3 miles in, and it's pretty delightful. It's a pretty fun show. Well, let's talk about what else is going on with you, because I want everybody to be able to, I'm sure everybody listening knows you, but I want everybody to be able to find you and follow you. We didn't even really like get into like what it is you do, because I'm just like, I took a very busy.
We've been like having a great conversation though.
We've been having a conversation. Yeah. And busy is always like, it goes without saying when if she was here, she'd be like, it would go without saying. Everyone knows who Charlotte Clymer is, but where do you want people to find you? Where are you hoping to, I think I know the answer to this. You have a great Substack.
I do. Thank you for boosting that. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, I do. I have a great Substack. It's my day job, basically. It's not basically. It is my day job. That is how I pay my bills, is with my Substack.
Yeah.
It's called Charlotte's Web Thoughts. And I'm not even going to put the URL out there, although I could. It's charlotteclymer.substack.com.
Okay.
But all you have to do is go to Google and just type in Charlotte's Web Thoughts, and it comes right up.
Yeah, and if you're
it's easy as pie.
If you subscribe to A Bear on a Wire, Charlotte's Web Thoughts is one of the Substacks that we recommend, so you can find it through there if you're at all confused, or you can just DM me and I'll help you find it, because I know sometimes things are tricky to find, but it's really great. And I'm so glad that you found this path where you can make a living and pay your bills, because you have had a number of jobs since I've known you, all in I think I met you after you were done with the military, but you might have just been at the tail end of your military. And then like since then, you've just jumped in with 2 feet, and you've had a number of amazing jobs. But I'm so glad that you're doing this.
Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, and I've had this blog now for 3 years.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already been 3 years. It's wild to me. But before now, I was press secretary at the Human Rights Campaign. I led their rapid response, their crisis communications. I was director of comms at Catholics for Choice. I still do consulting, but for about, I don't know, a year there, between the time I left HRC and the time I started the blog, I was doing communications for a bunch of clients.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh, so you're doing LGBTQ advising. I'm like, well, yeah, but I was also doing actual comms work, like telling them how to talk to the public.
Right.
And not just LGBTQ clients. I, had non-LGBTQ businesses or public figures who'd reach out to me to write speeches or remarks or, anything that needs to be done when it comes to words and how to address the public. And I still do that. I still have a number of clients on retainer who will reach out to me anytime they need something done. I've consulted for a couple Broadway shows when it comes to comm strategy, major motion picture, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, but the blog is my baby. The blog is where I really put a lot of my work into. And it's great because, how many people can say that they get to wake up every day and write whatever the hell they want about anything they want and get paid for it?
Yeah, that's what pleases me so much that you're doing this is that, like, I know when I'm reading something that it comes from you and that there hasn't been any corporate overlord saying, Charlotte, don't you think this? Don't you think that we think this? So I know when I'm reading something that you've written that it's coming from you, it's your real thoughts. Over the past couple elections, like your voice has been one of the voices that has kept me sane and kept me on the path when I felt like giving up. So I'm so happy that it's there for the taking, for people to enjoy and appreciate. And also you're doing a thing that, like, I consider like my most important job, no matter whether it's with writing or with talking or whatever. It's building community, like giving people
That's right.
That third space that we're always talking about. You have your home and your job, and then this third space.
Third space.
Yeah.
I tell people about the third space thing all the time because it's so critical.
It's so critical, and it just became so missing, I feel like, for so many years. And it's like we didn't even know what was missing. And now I feel like we're kind of waking up to the idea that, like, home is wonderful and work is so fortunate, and we're so lucky to have work when we're working, but we also need this other third space where like-minded people hold each other up and encourage each other and inform each other, educate each other in a way that is like collaborative and welcoming. And like, that's all I ever want to do is just keep that rolling, like I want third spaces
and
everywhere.
It's really necessary for our development and our growth as individuals. And people often don't realize why that is, because it almost sounds like just something you're supposed to say is that, it's supposed to, it's good to get outside the house, whatever. No. It is critical to get outside the house and be in social situations that have nothing to do with work and nothing to do with family. It's critical. And here's why. When you're at work, you have, boundaries that, professional boundaries, things that you need to adhere to for very good reason. When you're at home, you have boundaries, not professional, but familial, things that need to be honored and guarded, right? Like, kids should not necessarily be shooting the shit with their parents like their buddies all the time, right? That's not appropriate. I think it's so critical for adults to be part of some kind of social scene. And it could be anything. It could be your knitting group. It could be a book club. It could be really anything where you can get around other adults who are not your family and not your coworkers and just breathe a little bit. Because if you can't do that, all those feelings that you can't bring up at work and that may be inappropriate to bring up at home have to go somewhere, right? And so you just bury them down deep.
Right.
So yeah, I'd encourage all your listeners, like, if you haven't gotten outside the house in a couple months, get outside the house, like, go do something.
Yeah. I think it's the place where we figure out who we are, because I'm kind of like a person who, even though I've had a strong personality maybe my entire life, I don't think I really figured out who I was until I was like getting to be in my 40s. And I think it's because I had so much home and so much work, but not a lot of third space.
No.
And so I really wish that I had caught on to that sooner, but there's no sense in like, you know, if wishes were fishes, I'd have a lot of fishes, you know, but I just, I
think it's a Bob Dylan line.
Yeah, it's a banger. Though, if wishes were fishes, Bob Dylan's one of his best.
Yes.
But, you know, I think it's so important. And so once I figured it out, that's all I wanted to like proselytize to people like, oh, you need this other place where you can figure out who you are and what you think and how you feel about it. And also, you know, how to respect that about other people and hold it for them, you know, like I really dig the way that you're thinking about that. And I feel like it's been so lucky for me that I did eventually figure it out. And so that's why I'm such a proponent for it. And I'm so happy that you have this Substack that is a community for people where they can also be informed and hear your thoughts. Because like, I love to see you pop up on TV. I love to see you pop up on a giant conference call that raises a ton of money for my preferred candidate to win this race. But it's so great to know that I'm regularly going to be able to hear your words and not just have to wait for the chance to see you.
Oh, goodness. I mean, okay, well, you're making me blush hardcore right now, so thanks for that. I appreciate it. Goodness gracious.
Well, I'm very grateful that you're able to make a living from it, because that's just like more you know what I mean? Like it's so great. I'm like, yes, please make this your job forever. I love it.
And it recalibrated things too. And I know we have to end soon, but you know, I will point this out. Our media environment, our professional media environment is, well, I guess it can just be very gatekeepy. And, you know, the thing that kind of irritated me for a couple of years there when I was at HRC was that I was hoping one day to be like a columnist at the Post or the Times. And I had a huge network. I know I could do the job, like writing well and insightful. But I had to realize at some point that they just were not going to hire a trans woman. It just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
At least for now. Right. 10 years from now, yeah, I can see it happening. But right now. So when Substack reached out and they're like, hey, not only do we want you to come do your own stuff on our, you know, platform, but we'll give you all the resources you need to do it. And we'll invest in you because we think you're a good investment. And I got to tell you, I will always owe so much to Substack for really just recognizing what I could do. And then not only that, but putting an investment behind it. They get so much credit for where I am now. They really do.
Yeah, that's great. It's recalibrated a lot. And I think it has a lot to do with where we are right now. Like all of this enthusiasm that we're talking about, like I don't think that all of these things happening are independent of each other. This is getting into mushroom thoughts, Caissie's web mushroom thoughts. But I
mushroom
think,
thoughts. That should be your next blog name.
I think your ability to sort of strike out on your own, do your own thing, make a living at it, and so therefore able to be more consistently putting your own thoughts out there, I don't think that's separate from the energy that we're now feeling and seeing and hearing about, because I just think people are better able to hear and to like get excited. And if you had been a columnist for any of those papers that you aspired to be a columnist for, that would have been amazing and you would have been a wonderful voice. But would you have been able to say exactly what it was that was on your mind at any given time with the depth or frequency with which you're able to do it on your own over at Substack? Not at all. And so like, I just see it, everything's connected. And I just think that we're at this inflection point that is really exciting. And I'm so glad to be here shoulder to shoulder with you, someone who I've known for so long. And I I've seen you grow, I think, as a person and grow into this person that I just really respect and admire. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you made time to talk with me today, even though it's the dog days of summer. And I'm
That's
sure you
right.
would rather
The dog days.
What's it like in DC right now?
Well, okay, so I was just in Provincetown last week, and I
Love.
decided to spend a couple days in Boston before I head back to DC.
Okay.
Well, and it's funny now because now I'm going to Philly tomorrow for the vice president's rally. But in DC right now, here's the thing about DC that people don't realize: the humidity is always out of control. It's out of control. So it could be, you know, 83, 84, 85 degrees, and it feels like the upper 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. It feels like you're swimming most of the time. Here's the other thing about DC, though. For 1 week in the spring and 1 week in the fall, the weather is absolutely perfect.
Perfection.
It's so great. And I realize I'm telling this to a lot of LA folks who will not appreciate that. But it really is. Like, it's just gorgeous. And you walk around the monuments and the weather just feels like it's hugging you in the most lovely way. And DC in the early spring and in the early fall, I honestly don't think there are a few better places to be. And I will stand by that.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like I should rush there and visit you because you probably don't know when the week is going to happen either.
It's usually late September, early October.
Okay.
That's usually right around when it happens.
All right.
Or I should say late March and early April.
Okay.
But yeah, you need to come visit. You need to come visit. We should do like a Capitol tour, walk around the monuments. Gabrielle, do you know Gabrielle Blair, right?
Yes, I love Gabrielle.
Yeah. She's wonderful. Well, she came and did a book talk in DC, and so we did something at the Sixth and I Synagogue, and then we walked around the mall the next day, all day, and it was just so much fun.
All right.
So we're going to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be on the East Coast sometime in October, so maybe I can make a little side trip to come visit you in DC.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm excited. It'll be fun.
Charlotte, it's so nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for just taking an hour out to chit chat and to be on the podcast and to talk to everybody. If you could just toss out one piece of advice for like people that are looking to get involved and have maybe never done it before, what would you say?
Well, everyone is welcome to do this, of course. Text women to 30330, and the campaign will get you all the details you need to get involved in electing the first woman president.
So easy and so fun.
So easy.
So
easy
right? And so fun.
I love it.
I love it. Charlotte, I love you. I am so grateful to you for being with us today, and I hope you'll come back another time.
Oh, I'm definitely coming back. That's going to happen. It'll be the three of us next time, and we'll have an even better conversation.
I'm looking forward to it. And by the time you guys are hearing this, we'll know who the vice presidential running mate is, and look for Charlotte in the crowd at the rally.
Woo! I can't wait.
It's going to be great.
All right, lady. I adore you so much. This was a delightful break from it. Mwah.
Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing my best.
Oh, no.